Hello dear student, once again I welcome you back to my YouTube channel Modern English with Khandu Dayal. I hope student you are doing well. In this video today we are going to see the appreciation of the Indian weavers by Sarojini Naidu. First of all, we will be discussing about the introduction of the poet and the poem. Indian Weavers is written by Sarojini Naidu. It's a short poem consisting of 3 stanzas having 4 lines each. The poet talks about 3 types of dresses that the Indian weavers weave at 3 particular times of day. Metaphorically, each time and the dress weaved in that time symbolizes a particular stage of life. The poem has the rhyme scheme of AABB, means all the stanzas will follow the same rhyming scheme, that is AABB. The poet uses a number of literary devices to express, to emphasize her own ideas like simile, imagery, metaphor, alliteration, etc. etc. So these are the poetical devices which a poetess used to emphasize her ideas. The poem consists of a discussion between the poet and the weavers, and the poet asks the weavers and the weavers give a reply to the poet. Let's start with an appreciation of the poem. But before going to start the appreciation of the poem, we should know what we are going to talk about the appreciation of the poem. First of all, we'll be talking about the title of the poem. Then we'll be talking about the poet. Afterwards, we will discuss about the theme of the poem. Then next, we'll be talking about poetical devices and poetical styles. Then we'll be discussing about the special features, followed by moral message and our own opinion. So this is what we are going to talk about the Indian Weavers by Sarojini Naidu. To begin with the first point, that is the title of the poem. The title of the poem, that is Indian Weavers. This title of this poem talks about Indian artisans, especially weavers, wherein the poet is praising the work of Indian weavers in this poem. As we all know that we have seen in our earlier videos the title of the poem, which is very metaphorically used, right? And the artisans means a skilled worker, right, who used to make things skillfully, wherein the poet is praising, right, admiring the works done by Indian weavers, which metaphorically symbolizes the different stages of life. Now we will talk about poet. The poet of this poem is very well known poet, Sarojini Naidu, who wrote this poem, and she was a political activist, feminist, and the first Indian woman who became the president of Indian National Congress. She was an important figure in India's struggle for independence. Sarojini Naidu's work as a poet earned her the sobriquet of Nightingale of India, and she was the woman who was initially chosen as the president of Indian National Congress, and also she has been the essential poet and writer from India, and because of her work she has been earned the sobriquet of Nightingale of India. So that is what she had been awarded. Now we will be discussing about the theme of the poem. Sarojini Naidu's poem Indian Weavers highlights the craft and skill of the Indian weavers And the poem tells about the three important stages in human's life, namely birth, that is childhood, then marriage, that is young adulthood, and death, that is oldness. So the poetess relates these three stages of different colors and different times of the day. The theme of the poem is very attractive and amazing, wherein we tend to understand how a human's life is divided into three parts of a day, wherein the break of the day, or the dawn of the day, or the beginning of the day, which symbolizes the born or the childhood of a person, wherein the midday, or maybe evening, or maybe afternoon, that symbolizes the adulthood or the young age, wherein the night, right, that is a night which describes or symbolizes the death or the oldhood or the old age of the person. That is what the theme of the poem is given, and with the help of a day, the humans stages, the different stages of humans life has been depicted. Poetic devices. The devices which is used in the poems are like metaphor, simile, imagery, alterations. So these are the poetic devices which are used in the poem, and this poem has a rhyme scheme of AABB, and as we all know that the poem consists of a discussion between the poet and the Indian viewers, and how the poet asks the questions to the viewers and how our viewers reply back to the poet. Poetical devices which are used in the poem, they are very important, which emphasizes the ideas which was given by the poet. Then poetic styles. Indian Vivas by Sarojini Naidu is a short poem consisting of 3 stanzas having 4 lines each. The poet talks about 3 types of dresses that the Indian viewers view at 3 particular times of the day. Metaphorically, each time and the dress viewed in that time symbolizes the particular stage of life. As we all know that how the poem is written, so this poem has been divided into 3 stanzas. Each contains 4 lines, right, which has a AABB rhyming scheme pattern. Now we'll be talking about special features of the poem. As we all know that since we are looking after the appreciation of the poem, each time we need to talk about the special features of the poem. Now here in this poem, the poem has been written in a simple language which is very simple, lucid and easy to understand for readers, for common readers. The poetess has used question and answers between her and viewers to write this poem. The poem tells about the 3 important stages in a human's life, particularly birth, that is childhood, then marriage, that is adulthood or young age, and death, that is old age, right. The poetess relates these 3 stages of different colors, right. Different colors are used in the poem to relate these human stages of life. Now we will be talking about the message or moral of the poem. The poetess describes all the important stages with us. We can understand these human life stages well. Now the message and the moral which is given from the poem is that how important the human life is, and with the help of a day, how a human's life is significantly portrayed, right. Now we need to understand human life is very precious, very we can say valuable. We should not supposed to waste, right, by doing nothing. Our life is meant to be lived for others, right? That is what the moral of the poem is this. And our own opinion about the poem. Once we understand the poem or any poetry, now this is the last topic, or the topic of discussion is my opinion. Now it depends on each and every individual's understanding what they felt, what they have to do with this poem, or what they wanted to tell about this poem, and their own thoughts, right, or own opinion. Like I thought personally, Indian Weavers is really a beautiful poem which tells us our 3 stages of life, right? Now this poem metaphorically symbolizes our life, right? How our life is, that is childhood, birth, then adulthood, that is young, and old age, that is death. So how this poem relates our life with the day, that is what my personal opinion is all about. This poem is a very simple to understand and filled very deep message in it. I like this poem so much. Now see, as we all know that each literary piece has had a different sorts of messages and morals. In the same way, this poem is full of imagery and metaphorically used, which depicts the human's life, which is very importantly, significantly, the life of humans is portrayed. And I personally feel that it's very good, right? To emphasize any idea, we need to take the help of the other things. In the same way, the poet has taken the help of the day, right? And that's why I like this poem much.